a bit of a breaking story, and it seems as though special leave has been granted to the head of SAA.
Yes, I think the market probably won't be too surprised. The public sentiment obviously was gaining momentum, pressure gaining momentum, and I think it's the right thing to do. Withdraw and let everything take its course.
Do you think there was a bit of a telephone call to say, I'm only going to give you an extra 1.6 billion rand if you resign? Because that was granted in the budget today. 1.6 billion to SAA. It wasn't taken very well. I mean, there was a lot of booing in the gallery, and I think some people would have thought that was enough. That SAA has had enough in terms of government pumping money into it.
Yes, I think obviously public sentiment right now towards SAA, very negative, and that's why I think it also led to this recent announcement. But I think generally that what Manuel is impressing here is a high level of accountability. I think that's come through very, very clearly.
You did say be watching a lot of things. You'd say I'm keeping you guys on, keeping tabs on you guys in terms of getting delivery.
Absolutely. I think it's come through very clearly. When I was watching Trevor Manuel at Davos, I mean, he was extremely impressive. And what's come through here is that he's not prepared to let some of the lack of regulatory oversight that happened overseas impact here. And quite a few times in his speech, he actually referred to creating more oversight committees, not to create bureaucracy, but to ensure a much higher level of accountability.
Okay, Martin, we would. It wasn't a market-moving budget speech, that's for sure. The market hasn't moved because of it, but we ended down nonetheless. Where we financials and resources, the culprits bringing us down. Also, global economy is still weighing heavily on our own bourse.
Absolutely. Look, I think first of all, although this budget. It was a highly credible budget, and a lot of credit must go to Trevor Manuel for delivering and maintaining his phenomenal track record of, once again, a highly credible budget. But unfortunately, what's happening in the world right now is totally swamping and usurping anything that we would have seen today. But don't underestimate just the stability and the consistency that the Finance Ministry and Monetary Policy has delivered. So long-term, massive gains. Okay,
now let's have a look at a couple of the companies that we heard from today. ArcelorMittal down over 6%. They were saying that earnings was good last year, but this next year is going to be really tough.
Well, if you wanted to see something that's at the pulse of the global environment, I mean, the outlook, shocking. Brutal honesty given by the CEO. No predictions given for 2009. And clearly, in all manifestations, you can see that global demand has really fallen off a cliff, really from September, October last year. And I think that ArcelorMittal reflecting that.
But if we see the stimulus programs or the potential stimulus programs that we're going to see in countries that are taking this route on the infrastructural side, should that not also introduce more of a demand for things like steel?
I think a few things, because first of all, some of the stimulus package that we are seeing is definitely going to be no panacea for the problems that the world's facing. And that's what the stock market's telling you, that maybe they could alleviate some of it or sort of reduce the burden, but it's no panacea for the hardship coming through. And in some of these industries like steel, massive excess capacity. So there's a lot of this deleveraging that we're going to be seeing, and we are seeing already. I think there's massive excess capacity all over the world, and steel is a primary example of that. And I think we're seeing it by the announcements today from ArcelorMittal.
Let's just switch to retailers. SPAR, another retailer showing good growth in December. We were all saying perhaps growth, the retailers were going to struggle in December, but SPAR doing well, and along with ShopRite and Pick n Pay, robust growth.
Absolutely. I think very importantly what people have been missing as well is that real incomes have actually held up very well. So there's actually no reason, the actual environment, the operating environment for many of these companies has actually been reasonably good. And I think it's been reflected right the way through, as you say, ShopRite, Pick n Pay, today from SPAR, very good operating environments.
Martin, let's touch on the budget again, and we will delve a bit deeper into this with our economist, Jeff Gable. But we for the first time in a long time, we've heard the word deficit. And some people are very frightened of the word. That means we're not balancing the books, and there are issues there. But financing this deficit, of course, they must have thought that through, and we're obviously more than capable of doing so.
Very much so. Now, and I think, for starters, no one should be frightened. I think what Trevor Manuel is doing now is spot on. He's adopting counter-cyclical policies. Effectively, what that means is that the bias of spending is going contrary to what the economy is doing. The economy is slowing. He says, therefore, I must increase my spending or maintain my spending because tax revenue is going to fall sharply, and the economy needs additional spending. I think it's appropriate what he's actually doing right now. But the reality is this. I mean, bond weightings by institutional asset managers out there is the lowest that I ever recall. It's the lowest I've seen. In other words,
just to explain,
fund managers,
fund managers
exposure to or holdings in bonds, government bonds, is extremely low. It's the lowest on records that I recall. So I think there's actually quite a lot of capacity for institutions and asset managers to actually take these bonds. Yes,
the yield's attractive.
Well, they're expensive, so they're very attractive from government's perspective. So it's very attractive for government to issue this. And it's one of the points, actually, that Trevor Manuel makes, that you've got some debt maturing, but you can refinance at attractive yield. So it's very attractive for government to be issuing these bonds, so appropriate time to do it. But yes, maybe bond yields kick up a little bit, but a lot of capacity from institutions to absorb this bond financing.
We'll be chatting more throughout the show. Martin Jankelowitz from Ginsberg Asset Consulting.